Story number 1. Am I the a-hole for calling my father-in-law out and ruining family dinner? Subscribe to Satisfying Reddits on YouTube for more uploads like this. I, female 27 and my husband, male 28, have been together for the past 6 years. My husband let me know when we first got together about his dad. The abuse, negativity, drinking etc. He let me know in advance of what to expect, but I had no idea how bad it would be. My first experience was when we moved in together, when my husband told me all the nasty things he said about me. I've never done anything to my father-in-law and I've always been polite, so this shocked me. I didn't know how to interact with his dad after that, so I just went low contact with him. Today we were invited to dinner and I was hesitant, but ultimately decided to go. We went over to father-in-law's house and greeted everyone, but I had to go to the bathroom before I sat at the table. Conversation between husband and father-in-law. Father-in-law: did you eat today? I made your favorite. Husband: I had some leftovers and some snacks earlier. Why? Father-in-law: that's not real food. You should tell that B to get off her lazy A at work and cook more for you. His family went silent, and father-in-law tried to laugh it off like he was joking, not realizing I came back from the bathroom. Me: now I see why mother-in-law left you. You alcoholic, cheating, abusive, self-absorbed a-hole. People only hang out with you because they're scared of you. Husband: go F yourself. Dad: let's go honey, we can eat out. We grabbed our stuff and left. My husband got a text 2 hours ago from father-in-law claiming I embarrassed him and he demands an apology. My husband said it was okay, but I feel like I overstepped my bounds a bit. So tell me, am I the a-hole? Comment what you think. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk with my mum's ex even though she's forgiven him? I'm not really sure how this whole Reddit thing works, but I really need second-hand opinion on this since I feel I could be overreacting in some way. Some background info: me, female 16, and my mum, female 46, have been on our own for a while since my father walked out the minute I was born. When I was around 4 to 5 years old, my mom got with Jay. I never knew his age. Me and Jay didn't get along very well. I never considered him my father and mostly thought of him as an uncle who just happened to support us. I did at some point try to treat him as a father, but I never succeeded since it felt wrong. Around that time there was this incident. From what I remember, we were struggling with some money issues and Jay was screaming and attacking my mother. Me being fairly young, not really knowing what to do, I tried calling 911. I failed since nobody had actually taught me how to use a phone and ended up just running to my room and consoling my mum afterwards. This may not seem like much, but to a 5 to 7 year old this had affected me a lot. I never trusted Jay again. For a few years the incident had been forgotten and we lived a fairly normal life, until they got divorced. Apparently Jay had been cheating on my mum and instead of leaving she cheated back and they both decided to get divorced. I remember when I heard my mom crying hysterically in her room during the divorce talk, I had gotten my shoe, I think to protect her, and barged in asking if everything is okay since those were the same cries I had heard that one night. The memory of her crying and him yelling never really left my mind and came up whenever I heard something even remotely similar. The whole point of this is to basically say that the things he did f***ed me and my mom up. Thanks to him I refused to allow my mum to date in fear that she would get hurt again. Spoiler alert, she did. She somehow manages to find the biggest D on the planet and date them. And afterwards my mum and me struggled so much and not once did he ever attempt to help. Now on to the current problem. Recently she has reached out to Jay again and they are now currently friends. She's been telling me that he wants to speak to me and that he misses me. I refused to speak with him since I never once forgave him for what he did to me and my mom. My mom thinks I'm being dramatic and that it's all in the past, but I simply never forgot nor forgave. So tell me, am I the a-hole? Comment what you think. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for standing up for my son and causing a scene at the family gathering? Hey Reddit, I'm hoping to get some outside perspective on a situation that happened at a family gathering with my 10-year-old son, who's adopted, and my husband and his family. So, I'm a proud mother of a 10-year-old boy who is very smart and mature for his age. He's always been aware of his adoption as my husband, and I have never hidden it from him, but we've also never made a big deal out of it either. He's just a regular kid and we love him just as much as we would any biological child. Yesterday, we were all at my husband's parents' house for a family gathering. The situation started when my 4-year-old niece innocently asked why my son's skin was a different color than everyone else's, not knowing about his adoption. Before I could even respond, one of the grandparents said, "That's because he's from a different planet." Fortunately, no one laughed. However, my son turned red and looked down, seemingly upset and embarrassed, and didn't say anything. I immediately stood up for my son and told the grandparents that they were being disrespectful, but they just laughed it off and continued making jokes about his adoption to my son's cousins. My husband also stood up for our son and told them to stop, but the grandparents just ignored us and said we were being sensitive. The situation just escalated and it became clear that the grandparents had no intention of stopping. I didn't want my son to feel any more uncomfortable or embarrassed. This was not the first time that his step-grandparents had made these kinds of jokes about him. It was becoming a regular occurrence at family gatherings, and my son was getting increasingly upset each time. I felt like I needed to step in and put a stop to it, so I decided to take him and leave the gathering. My son was quiet on the way home, but when I asked him how he was feeling, he simply replied, "I'm adopted." This broke my heart and I could tell he was hurt by the whole situation, and I feel terrible that I hadn't done anything until yesterday. I'm now considering never meeting the grandparents again because, as I said before, this has happened more than once, and I don't want my son to continue to be the target of their jokes. My husband was not happy with my decision to leave and thought it was going too far. He complained that I was overreacting and that I should have stayed and dealt with his parents. He told me that it was his family and that I needed to be more understanding. So tell me, was I the a-hole? Subscribe to Satisfying Reddits on YouTube and hit the bell for daily notifications. Thanks for watching.